Oh, look who just survived their public execution. Welcome back, you beautiful disaster, the living contradiction, the proof that some souls don't break the way the manual says they should. You know what really happened, don't you? Not the surface humiliation they staged like some twisted spectacle. The whispers, the mockery, the circus of judgment. I'm talking about what took place beneath it all. The frequency shift. The energetic broadcast. That silent but deafening signal you sent into the universe the moment you refused to stay down. Here's something they don't teach in their corporate seminars or polished self-help sermons. When you're dragged through public humiliation, when they smear your name and strip you bare before an audience waiting for your collapse, something ancient stirs awake. A primal transmission gets released. An energy so raw it travels across frequencies most people will never perceive. And out there in the margins of normal society, certain watchers, certain unseen forces pick up that signal like wolves catching the scent of something rare. They felt it, the moment you broke, but refused to shatter. And now, those same watchers are paying attention in a way you never imagined. You thought it was over, didn't you? You thought the worst part was the mockery, the gossip, the digital lynching. But that was never the end. It was the initiation, the filtration process, the universe's way of testing if you had the spine to carry what comes next. Because here's the unspoken truth about surviving humiliation in the age of surveillance and social crucifixion. You don't just survive it, you're marked by it. You're tagged, you become visible to those who understand what that mark means. Not the crowd, not the clowns cheering your downfall. I'm talking about something far more deliberate, real power. The kind that doesn't post, doesn't shout, doesn't seek validation. There are individuals who move through systems like shadows, quiet, observant, unshakable. They recognize strength not in victory laps, but in silent endurance. They aren't looking for winners, they're hunting survivors. The ones who got publicly annihilated and still rose, not with outrage, but with eerie calm. The ones who turned humiliation into rocket fuel instead of a grave. And when you did that, when you walked through that fire, when they stripped your dignity and you still stood tall, you triggered something rare. You revealed a form of resilience that can't be taught, faked, or bought. You exposed a psychological weapon, one that makes the people in certain circles pause and take notes. You became interesting, not in a safe way, not in a controllable way, but in the kind of way that sends quiet ripples through rooms you'll never be invited into. The kind of way that suggests you might just be capable of things they never accounted for. Let's be absolutely clear about what humiliation does to most people. It destroys them. Not in an obvious physical way, but from the inside out. It rewires their nervous system to associate visibility with danger. It conditions them to shrink, to apologize for existing, to contort themselves into invisibility just to avoid standing out again. It molds them into obedient citizens who flinch at confrontation and submit to authority without question. That's the purpose of humiliation. It's not random cruelty, it's engineered control. A psychological weapon designed to keep the collective in check by publicly breaking anyone bold enough to defy the order. But then there are the outliers, the anomalies, the ones whose minds don't respond the way they're supposed to. Maybe it's genetic, maybe it's trauma, maybe it's something spiritual. Doesn't matter. When these people are humiliated, they don't fold. Something cold and calculating awakens instead. A different kind of intelligence comes online. One that sees through the illusion. One that studies patterns. One that recognizes that those who orchestrated the humiliation just exposed themselves. Their methods, their motivations, their weak points. These people don't get destroyed by humiliation. They get educated by it. They observe, they analyze, they take notes. They don't lash out or collapse, they absorb. While everyone assumes they're broken, they're quietly mapping the entire battlefield. They remember every smirk, every betrayal, every tactical mistake their enemies made in the moment they thought they had won. You're one of those people, aren't you? I can tell. Because you're still here. You're not performing your pain for validation. You're not trying to prove your worth. You're just here, breathing, grounded, recalibrating. And that calm, that control, that terrifying stillness, that's what caught their attention. The wolves I mentioned earlier, the ones who move in silence, they don't respect public meltdowns or emotional theatrics. They're impressed by those who remain motionless under fire, who get humiliated and don't flinch, who keep their dignity when everything else is stripped away. That's what they watch for. That's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Now, who are these people? The ones I keep referring to? Let me paint it for you. They're not influencers or motivational speakers. They're not the faces on magazine covers or the voices on stage. They're the unseen hands, the executives who never give interviews, the investors whose names you'll never find online, the strategists who speak only through intermediaries. They are the architects behind empires built not on hype or hustle, but on information, leverage, and psychological precision. Their recruitment process doesn't involve resumes or LinkedIn messages. They observe quietly. They watch how people break, or if they break at all. Their primary metric is simple. How does someone handle public destruction? Anyone can look powerful when everything's going right. But what happens when the applause stops? When the crowd turns hostile? When the people you trusted are suddenly enjoying your downfall because it makes them feel less mediocre? That's the real test, and you passed it. Maybe you don't feel like you did. Maybe you're still reeling, trying to process the betrayal, feeling the ache of what was taken from you. But survival like yours isn't accidental. It's defiant, it's deliberate. It's a silent rebellion against the system that tried to erase you. You didn't crumble. You adapted. You didn't beg for sympathy. You mastered stillness. You didn't scream. You broadcasted resilience. And the ones watching from the shadows, they saw it immediately. They recognized it for what it was. Not luck, not coincidence, but the unmistakable signal of someone who cannot be controlled. They saw something most people can't fake: restraint under fire. You didn't rush to social media to plead your case, to post long explanations, or to demand sympathy. You took the hit, absorbed the impact, and moved in silence. No dramatic threats, no revenge talk, no desperate need for validation. That level of composure is rare, dangerously rare. Because most people, when humiliated, either break completely or start overcompensating with loud defensiveness. Both are predictable. Both are weak. Both reveal someone who can be easily manipulated through shame. But you went quiet. Not the quiet of defeat, the quiet of recalibration. The kind of quiet that unnerves people because it isn't passive, it's calculating. It's the silence of someone processing every variable, updating their internal map, deciding who stays, who goes, and who just lost lifetime access. That's not fear, that's an upgrade. That's the stillness of someone who realized they'd been playing chess with amateurs. It's the silence that makes powerful people lean in, because it suggests you might be capable of the long game. Now let's get something straight. The ones watching you now aren't saviors. They're not benevolent mentors waiting to rescue your potential. They're pragmatists, opportunists, predators in expensive suits. They recognize strength the way sharks recognize blood in the water, instinctively, instantly. They don't see a victim, they see utility. They see someone who didn't fold under pressure, who understands that loyalty isn't about submission but about strategy. Someone who knows when to stay silent and when to strike. And that's what makes this moment pivotal. You now have access to options that didn't exist before. Not because you suddenly gained new skills or credentials, but because you survived a filtration process that eliminates 99% of people. You demonstrated capacity under extreme pressure. And in their world, that's the only metric that matters. They don't care about resumes, accolades, or online clout. They care about one thing. When the system tried to break you, did you crumble or did you crystallize? Did you fracture or did you forge yourself into something sharper? You sharpened. And that's why your name is now on their radar, not in the good or bad category, but in the interesting one. See, they don't approach directly. They don't send messages that say, "Hey, we noticed you survived public destruction. Want to work with us?" Number. They build mazes. They manufacture coincidences. They place people in your orbit who seem random but aren't. They study how you navigate recovery, who you reconnect with, who you cut off, how you rebuild your foundation. It's all part of an extended observation period. If you continue to demonstrate what they're scanning for, composure under pressure, strategic detachment, emotional regulation, loyalty to principle over personality, doors will begin to open, quietly, suddenly. Doors that were never supposed to open for someone like you. But before you mistake that for destiny, understand this. These people aren't your allies. They're not friends, not family, not divine protectors. They operate on self-interest, always. They've identified you as a potential asset, someone who can serve their agenda. And if you align with them, yes, you'll gain access to resources, to intelligence, to power structures hidden behind the facade of normal society. But every world comes with its own rules, and theirs is unforgiving. Loyalty is rewarded, but betrayal is erased, swiftly and without mercy. So, what do you do now? First, understand that you're being watched. Not by everyone, not by the shallow masses who moved on to the next scandal, but by the select few who saw something worth analyzing. Every move you make from here counts. How you rebuild, who you trust, what you say, what you stay silent about. They're studying whether you seek vengeance or mastery, whether you use pain as an anchor or as propulsion. Second, accept that invisibility is gone. You thought humiliation would erase you, but paradoxically it branded you. It made you visible to those who study resilience as a resource. They're not evaluating your reputation, they're evaluating your structure, your internal design. Can you handle pressure without leaking emotion? Can you keep secrets that could destroy lives if exposed? Can you move in silence when chaos erupts? And finally, you need to decide who you're becoming after this. Because make no mistake, your old life is over. The version of you that needed approval, that believed exposure equaled death, that version died in public. What stands here now is something new. Something that has the attention of the watchers, the strategists, and the quiet power brokers who move the world behind closed doors. What you do next determines whether you ascend or vanish into the system you've just been invited to play in. The person you were before the humiliation ritual, that version of you is gone. That self trusted the wrong people, followed rules written to keep you small, believed in fairness and justice as if they were cosmic guarantees instead of human illusions. You can't go back to that innocence. You've seen how the system actually operates. You've seen how fast loyalty evaporates, how fragile morality becomes when tested, how easily people trade integrity for entertainment. You've seen the machinery behind the mask. Now, rebuilding isn't about restoration. It's about evolution. You have to become someone who understands that power isn't given, it's seized. That trust isn't something handed out like candy. It's earned through proven reliability under stress. And kindness? It's still strength, but it must be strategic. You give it only to those who have shown they won't weaponize it against you. You have to start operating with a new baseline assumption that everyone is gathering intelligence, everyone has an angle, and anyone can betray given the right incentive. That's not paranoia, that's pattern recognition. What most people call paranoia is just realism without the comfort filter. You're not becoming cold or heartless, you're becoming aware. You've simply stopped mistaking performance for sincerity, manners for morality, and smiles for safety. The moment they humiliated you, when the masks fell off and you saw the true faces behind the polite facades, that wasn't distortion. That was revelation. That was clarity ripping through the fog. The world showed you what it really is when it doesn't need to pretend. And now you have a choice. You can pretend you didn't see it. Convince yourself it was an isolated event. Rebuild your life with the same naive optimism and hope that next time people will be kinder. Or you can accept initiation. Because that's what it was. An initiation into a different game. A game with hidden rules, invisible players, and real stakes. In this game, trust is currency, silence is power, and composure under pressure is your armor. The wolves I've spoken of, they already know this. They're not asking for fairness or validation. They're not praying for redemption. They're building, acquiring, positioning. They operate with precision because they know most of humanity is sleepwalking, obedient, distracted, and unaware of who's really writing the script. They're looking for the ones who woke up, the anomalies who got unplugged by trauma, betrayal, or public crucifixion, the ones who can't unsee what's been revealed. And that's you now. Whether you asked for it or not, the humiliation didn't destroy you. It transformed you. It marked you. Tagged you as someone different. Someone with the emotional armor to withstand pressure that collapses others. Someone who can hold information without leaking emotion. Someone who can operate in moral gray zones without losing themselves. And that's rare. Valuable, not to the public, not to the mob that mocked you, but to the ones who understand how the world actually functions. The architects behind the visible order. They're always searching for those who can handle the heat without combusting. You've proven you can. Which means, ready or not, you're about to find out what happens when the unseen world decides you might be worth testing. You're going to start noticing things. At first, they'll seem like nothing. Little glitches in the rhythm of your daily life. Conversations that seem casual but linger in your mind longer than they should. A stranger saying exactly what you needed to hear at the exact moment you needed to hear it. A door opening, not metaphorically but literally, to an opportunity that makes no logical sense given your current circumstances. People showing up out of nowhere, offering help, information, or connections that feel almost too perfectly timed. These are not coincidences. These are signals. They won't introduce themselves as tests, but that's exactly what they are. Each one is a data point, an experiment, a psychological probe designed to observe how you respond under subtle pressure. The watchers are gauging your awareness, your composure, your ability to navigate chaos without needing explicit guidance. They're studying whether you can interpret coded messages in plain interactions, whether you can sense the game being played even when no one says the word game. You'll notice that these moments carry a strange energetic charge, something just slightly off about them, like a dream you're half aware of. That's because reality around you is shifting. It's bending to accommodate a new frequency you unlocked when you refuse to stay broken. You're no longer just existing inside the world. The world is responding to you. Every decision you make now acts as a signal, broadcasting your level of awareness, your internal stability, your potential utility. Now, most people will never notice any of this. They'll live their lives on autopilot, blind to the intricate design humming beneath the visible layer of society. And if they were to hear this right now, they'd laugh. They'd call it paranoia, delusion, conspiracy, whatever label helps them sleep. And honestly, that's fine. That's perfect. Because disbelief protects the system. The people I'm describing, the ones who pull strings from the shadows, depend on the ignorance of the masses. They thrive when people believe in surface-level truths, that success is earned through hustle, that failure is personal, that systems are fair. Those illusions are the smokescreens that keep real power invisible. But for you, that illusion cracked. You've seen behind the curtain and you can't unsee it. You've started to recognize that the patterns aren't random. You felt the eyes, not in a paranoid way, but in a quiet, undeniable way. You felt the evaluation. You've caught the subtle changes in tone when people speak to you, the sudden respect that wasn't there before, the way certain individuals are now measuring your responses rather than mocking them. That's because something fundamental changed when you survived your public destruction. You stepped into a frequency most people never reach, a signal band reserved for the initiated. And once you're there, you start attracting the attention of those who operate beyond visible hierarchies. You become a living data point in a world built on secrecy and control. The truth is, the humiliation you endured wasn't just a social spectacle. It was a filtration process. It revealed to the universe and to those watching how you respond when stripped bare. Pain, public exposure, ridicule, those were the tools of refinement. The universe isn't sentimental. It doesn't care about fairness or comfort. It's not testing your feelings, it's testing your composition. Can you handle chaos without dissolving? Can you still move forward when stripped of validation, status, and support? Can you endure psychological disintegration and rebuild from it stronger than before? Everyone saw you crumble, but what they didn't understand was that your collapse was alchemical. The pressure that was meant to turn you into dust turned you into diamond. That's why you shine differently now, not brighter but sharper. That's what they saw. That's what made you interesting. You became a signal flare in a dark system. A point of anomaly that drew the attention of those who traffic in rare minds and unbreakable psyches. Now you're standing at a crossroad, one that doesn't come with a map or a signpost. One path leads back toward normalcy, toward rebuilding what was destroyed, pretending this was just a rough chapter in an otherwise ordinary life. You could go back, keep your head down, play by the rules, stay humble, and convince yourself you learned your lesson. That path will bring you comfort, predictability, maybe even a sense of peace. But it'll always come with a silent ache. The haunting question of what if you had stepped through the other door. The other path, the one that's calling to you even as you resist it, is steeped in uncertainty. It leads into a world you don't yet understand, a network of players who exist behind the public facade of civilization. It's a realm where nothing is what it seems, where every alliance carries cost, and every opportunity hides a test. Power here doesn't announce itself. It watches. It waits. And it rewards only those who can move without being seen, act without being provoked, and think without being told. If you choose that path, you'll have to shed the remnants of your old self entirely. You can't bring sentimentality into this world. You can't hold on to relationships forged in weakness, or maintain bonds with people who celebrated your downfall. You can't play small while carrying the kind of awareness that disturbs entire systems. Once you cross that line, innocence is no longer an option. You'll need to learn new forms of discernment. Reading silence as clearly as speech, reading energy as precisely as text. But understand, choosing this path doesn't make you a villain, it makes you real. Because the truth is, the heroes everyone worships are usually puppets, and the real architects of reality operate in shadow. If you enter that world consciously, not as prey but as a strategist, you'll begin to see how power actually circulates. You'll understand why you were broken in public, not to destroy you, but to strip away every illusion that kept you docile. Neither path guarantees happiness. Neither path ensures peace. One keeps you comfortable. the other makes you formidable. One preserves your image, the other redefines your essence. One leads to the illusion of safety, the other leads to sovereignty. But you can't walk both. You can't keep one foot in the old world while trying to navigate the new one. You can't hold on to the idea of who you were and simultaneously evolve into what you were meant to become. You are being studied, you are being tested, but you are also being invited into a game few ever realize exists, and even fewer survive. What you do next determines whether you remain a bystander in someone else's system or become one of the rare few who learns how to rewrite it from the inside out. You can't play by conventional rules while trying to navigate unconventional power structures. That world doesn't respect compliance. It rewards adaptability. It doesn't care about politeness, fairness, or approval. It cares about precision, perception, and the ability to endure pressure without broadcasting pain. You can't mix these realities. One was built to keep you predictable. The other exists to test how far beyond predictability you can operate. So yes, you must choose. And don't kid yourself. The wolves are watching, waiting, analyzing your every move, not because they care about you as a person, but because your decision reveals what kind of entity you truly are. Are you a survivor or a placeholder? A temporary glitch or a sustainable anomaly? If you crawl back to your old life, if you forgive those who humiliated you just to maintain your reputation, if you contort yourself to fit the same mold that once shattered you, they'll lose interest immediately. That choice would expose you as fragile. It would tell them your survival was accidental, not earned, that your endurance was temporary, not structural. It would show them that you still crave acceptance more than control, that your instincts still point toward belonging instead of strategy. And in their world, that's weakness, the kind that gets erased quietly and permanently. You'd be categorized as noise, an emotional variable, not a reliable asset. But if you choose differently, if you treat your humiliation as your rebirth, not your ruin, that's when things shift. If you rebuild yourself not around old ideals of fairness or validation, but around a deeper, colder understanding of systems, they'll take note. If you stop chasing permission and start calculating moves, they'll watch closer. If you begin using the energy of your downfall as propulsion, not pity, they'll know you're not just surviving, you're evolving. And that's the signal they've been waiting for. Because the wolves, the silent architects of influence, the ones who manipulate flow instead of fame, they're not looking for the loud or the righteous. They're looking for the aware, those who've seen through the illusion and didn't crumble from what they saw. Those who can act without seeking applause, who can withhold reaction, who can weaponize silence. That's what serious means in their language. Serious about power. Not the performative power of job titles, applause, or online clout. I'm talking about power that moves systems invisibly. Power that dictates policy before it's even drafted. Power that shifts public emotion without ever being traced. Power that comes from possessing knowledge that isn't meant to be public. Information that bends reality while everyone else argues about it. Real power is foresight. It's understanding how decisions are made, not in boardrooms or parliaments, but in quiet back channels, encrypted threads, and whispered deals. It's knowing how to move a domino without touching it. It's knowing who to move and when. And the only way to access that power is by proving you can hold it, without flinching, without leaking, without losing control. That's what your humiliation tested. It wasn't a punishment, it was an assessment. Brutal, yes. Unfair, absolutely. But deliberate. It stripped you of everything superficial, status, approval, false allies, illusion. It forced you to meet the raw material of your being, your unfiltered consciousness under extreme duress. That's why it broke most people before you. but you somehow stayed intact. You absorbed the humiliation like a black box, recording, processing, recalibrating. You learned more about human psychology in those moments than most people will in a lifetime. You learned how people behave when fear or envy controls them. You saw what loyalty really means when tested. You discovered how quickly morality collapses when it's inconvenient. That wasn't chaos, it was data. And you processed it all. You endured without external validation. You survived without needing a rescue narrative. That's why you're still standing, and that's why they're watching. Because in a world built on manipulation, the ones who can't be broken become valuable assets. This is not some motivational speech about turning pain into purpose. That's self-help garbage for people who still believe comfort is the goal. This isn't about redemption or healing, this is about transformation, controlled evolution. The kind of metamorphosis that turns a target into an operator. Understand something. What happened to you was by design. It was meant to destroy you. It succeeded on everyone else it's ever been used against. But you didn't just endure, you adapted. You didn't just rebuild, you upgraded. And that makes you an anomaly in a system built to process humans like data. Predictable, emotional, compliant data. Now the ones who design the machinery are studying you. Not because they feel guilt, but because you're an unexpected variable. You weren't supposed to survive the simulation. You weren't supposed to keep thinking independently after public disassembly. That makes you fascinating and dangerous. But make no mistake, this attention isn't benevolent. These people aren't your friends, mentors, or saviors. They are pragmatists of the highest order. They deal in leverage, not loyalty. Their kindness, if they show any, is a transaction. They don't see morality. They see utility. You are a potential investment, not a cause. Yet within that truth lies opportunity, the kind few ever receive. If you prove yourself useful, if you demonstrate emotional control and strategic intelligence, they'll open doors you didn't know existed. You'll be invited into networks where power doesn't speak, it acts. You'll gain access to systems most people never even learn to imagine. But this world has rules, and ignorance isn't tolerated. Loyalty is rewarded, but betrayal is punished with mathematical precision. You won't get warnings or second chances. You'll either rise or vanish, and no one will ever know why. This is the trade-off. The moment you step into this layer of reality, you lose the right to innocence. You forfeit the luxury of assumption. Trust becomes a measured transaction, not an emotional reflex. Vulnerability turns from connection to currency, one you can't spend carelessly. Every smile becomes data. Every conversation a test. Every alliance a negotiation of risk. That's the cost of awakening. You've seen the machinery now. The masks are gone. You can no longer pretend that kindness equals safety, or that truth always wins. You know that beneath every smile lies a calculation. Beneath every alliance, an agenda. Beneath every friendship, a transaction waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. You've crossed the threshold, and you can't go back. You can rebuild your old life if you want, but it will feel like living in a simulation you've already decoded. You'll see every flaw, every lie, every manipulation, and it will make normalcy impossible. That's the price of awareness. The question now isn't why this happened to you. The question is what you're going to do with the knowledge it gave you. Will you go back to pretending, or will you master the new language of power that only a few can even perceive? Because the wolves are still watching, not to help, not to harm, but to measure. They want to know if you can operate in silence, if you can move like smoke through systems built to trap noise. They want to see if you'll build your empire quietly while everyone else argues about ruins. And when you prove that you can, not with words, not with validation, but with outcomes that speak for themselves, that's when you stop being watched. That's when you join them. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm, to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlightened Wisdom.